George Gascon's efforts to implement progressive criminal justice reforms have generated pushback from within his own office, the broader law enforcement community, and some in the general public. He was the subject of at least 2 failed attempts to qualify recalls. The concerns about crime are reflected in the polling results of black voters. Nearly 1 in 4 have been victims of violent crime or have someone close to them who has been a victim. 1 in 5 black voters have personally been victims of property crime in the last 2 years. A majority of respondents feel less safe than they did a year or 2 ago, but they reject the notion that criminal justice reform has gone too far. This year, black voters will be looking for candidates who speak to the complexity of the issues as opposed to a one-size-fits-all approach. Nearly half of black voters have an unfavorable view of DA Gascon, but his challengers are largely unknown. Nearly half of the black voters are also undecided, which means there's a clear opportunity for candidates to connect with black voters. Our poll makes 3 things abundantly clear. Black voters matter. Black voters are closely following this race, and the candidates for DA have a lot of work to do. KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to the mobilization and use of the franchise to empower our audience to identify and pursue their interests in advancing equity, inclusive representation, and multiracial solidarity. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Dr. Nicordoli Corte. We welcome your feedback.
Hey Zoe, I'm calling your show, 'cause I need to know. Show me which way to go before I throw my man out the door.
Okay, hold on a second, Keisha. Just let me ask Ronald exactly what's going on, because it takes 2 to tango, and I need to hear his side of the story.
So she's driving me insane, got stress heavy on my brain. She keeps playing silly games, man, I'm about to bring the pain. We seem to fuss and fight every day and every night. Please give some advice so we can see the light, see the light.
Anyone with borderline will tell you that she switches between whole identities. She doesn't feel herself in various states. And before I proceed, borderline personality disorder is equally diagnosed nowadays in women as in men. I'm using the female pronouns because the vast majority of scholarly literature hitherto had focused on the manifestations of borderline personality disorder in women. And yes, I think this is a form of gender bias and sexism in psychiatry and psychology. Having dispensed with this disclaimer, this woke politically correct disclaimer, let us proceed. Borderlines switch between what looks to be completely different personalities and identities. It is eerily reminiscent of multiple personality disorder, today called dissociative identity disorder, but there are, of course, very important differences. Anyone living with a borderline will attest that borderlines switch, especially when they feel rejected, humiliated, abandoned, or, on the very contrary, engulfed, assimilated, merged, and fused with a love object. They tend to switch. I described all this in terms of self-states. And no, I regret that I'm not the one who came up with this idea. It was Philip Bromberg. Philip Bromberg was the first to conceptualize and propose the idea of self-states rather than a coherent, unitary self. Borderlines, like everyone else, have self-states, but there is something very important, different about borderlines. In addition to self-states, they have identity disturbance and internal emptiness. And today, in this video lecture, I'm going to discuss both of these concepts. This lecture is a CIAPS, Center for International Advanced and Professional Studies lecture, part of the new syllabus on human sexuality and personality disorders that I have spent 3 years compiling. My name is Sam Vaknin. I'm the author of Malignant Self-Love, Narcissism Revisited. I'm also a professor of psychology and very well acquainted firsthand with borderline personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder, sometimes on the receiving end. Okay.
He was cooking. I didn't want to get too deep. But guess what Zoe Williams is here to do tonight? I'm here to demystify the demon. The demon within. I got to send a shout out to Attila Phillips out of Houston, Texas. Attila is not playing about the voice of reason. She is sending me so many topics that are so relevant that I have to send a personal shout out to the young lady out of Houston, Texas. These topics are riveting. All I ask is you send me a topic and three or four questions and I'll do the rest. And she's try this one, try that one. Hey, did you get the ones I sent last week? I'm like, woo, okay. So I'm here to demystify the demon. Okay? See, let me explain something to you. When you're dealing with the mirror of relationships, I'm so sick of wounded people calling other people wounded, calling out their wounds as if they have healed from their own. Right? You calling out other people's wounds as if you have conquered your own. As Farrakhan told Mike Wallace, I think you should be quiet. You see, I will speak about my people because I don't have blood on my hands. I say wounded people should not speak on other wounded people. You know why? Because everybody is a whip in progress. Everybody has some type of demon they must contend with. So tonight's topic: is your person an evil shapeshifter? Are you dating an evil person? A deeper look into the demonic relational shapeshifter. How does one identify a relational shapeshifter? Why is this important? Because over the past week or so, we've been talking about narcissism. Now, narcissism, NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, of course, is in the DSM-5, right? Which explains that, right? But as I stated, there is a clear distinction between someone who is a clinically diagnosed narcissist and someone who has narcissistic tendencies. It is different. I think we all have narcissistic tendencies. But the level of manipulation that people who have narcissistic tendencies and people who are clinically diagnosed as NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, the level of manipulation is so high that it leads one to ask the question, is that person, the narcissistic person, or the person who has narcissistic tendencies and abundance of them, are they evil? See, Linda Blair messed our minds up. Linda Blair made us think evil and the devil had green pea soup associated with it, had spinning heads associated with it. But if your partner can make your head spin because they're constantly shifting and changing and manipulating and gaslighting and lying and omitting and avoidant and listen, you might be dealing with someone who needs a spiritual exorcism. Do narcissists perceive themselves as evil? What characteristics, personality types, and or attachment styles are relational shapeshifters drawn to? And what? Who are they drawn to? They're drawn to the empaths. And let me say this to you. Don't you know there's a dark empath? We're going to do a show on the dark empath too. Right? Just as there are covert narcissists, or what is deemed an empathetic narcissist, there are dark empaths. See, I'm here to tell you, so many people want to be the victim so bad. So many people want to live a life that is blameless. But oh no, the victim and the villain are like hot and cold. What does that mean, Zoe? They have one thing in common. Guess what? Their temperature. Hot and cold are separated by degrees. And there comes a point where the victim and the victim and the villain are at a crossroads to where they're almost indistinguishable. So we're not here to let anybody off the hook. Is it evil to be narcissistic? True or false? There are some really dangerous and probably evil narcissists out there, but these people are most likely also sociopaths or psychopaths. This isn't the garden variety narcissist, meaning a malignant narcissist is different than a grandiose narcissist, which is different than a covert narcissist. A covert narcissist can skate through life being perceived as a good person because they've mastered performative empathy. And as long as they're getting what they think they're supposed to be getting from their supply, they will comply. They've mastered, they are using the method technique in their acting when it comes to empathy. Woo. Are there any connections that can be drawn from a person's character and their tendency to shapeshift within a relationship? Are narcissists evil as well as being shapeshifters? I'm interested. You already know this is a non-judgmental space. Have you dealt with someone who tracked as nice, who tracked as someone who is peaceful and cool, but the moment things got too much closeness, too much distance, too much talking, too much apology, too much loving, whatever it is, whatever they define as too much, They flipped and became an entirely different person. Have you been in a relationship with a shapeshifter? What are some underlying motives for shapeshifters within relationships? True or false? If you've had an encounter with any type of narcissist or emotional abuser, you might be thinking you've had an encounter with the devil incarnate. 1-800-920-1580. Get to your phone lines. Get ready, get ready, get ready. What role does attachment styles play in becoming a relational shapeshifter? Agree or disagree? The large majority of narcissists are extremely dangerous to your emotional well-being if you left them close enough to hurt you. But their goal isn't to hurt you unless you're dealing with an especially malignant narcissist. Man, we got fire. We got fire. We got fire. I want to hear from the nation tonight. I want to hear from everybody all over the nation. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? Have you dealt with a shapeshifter? You thought they were one person and then they flipped on you? You thought they would never perpetrate a particular type of act against you? But not only have they done it, they've done it several times and lied about it every time. Are you dealing with that kind of person? Are you that kind of person? The phone lines are open. 1-800-920-1580.
Reasons. The reasons that we're here, the reasons that we fear, our feelings won't disappear. You're listening to the voice of reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. Visit jpmorganchase.com/racial equity and get the tools to help reach your financial goals.
A psoriasis flare-up can make a walk in the park, well, no walk in the park.
It's that obvious, huh? I've tried so many lotions and creams, but I still have symptoms.
So those don't do enough to treat the inflammation beneath the skin, leaving you with those uncontrolled symptoms.
Makes sense, but what else can I do?
You can get real with your dermatologist so they can help you get clear. Make an appointment and, you're already on it.
Hi, yes, I'd like to make an appointment.
Get real clear about psoriasis at letsgetrealclear.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
You know you want some more. It's the voice of reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is narcissism evil? Now, this is an interesting question. It's kind of a blend of philosophy and science, and I've heard this question in many different forms. Are narcissists evil? Are narcissists bad people? Does evil lead to narcissism? Does narcissism lead to evil? So a lot of different questions, but all pretty much the same theme, looking at this potential relationship between narcissism and evil. So this one's kind of a difficult question to answer because it wanders into a few different areas. As I mentioned, this is really looking at philosophy and science. Now, I could talk about philosophy and science for hours. I'm a big fan of philosophy, theology, science, all the ways that we can understand the world, all the ways we can seek wisdom. But usually, in my videos, I try to focus more on the science side because psychopathology and counseling and appraisal and all these different areas are primarily scientific in the way we understand them and apply them as counselors. So just a very quick overview of philosophy and science, and I'll do my best to answer this question. So if we look at how we understand the world, how we gain wisdom, and we go back many years, first we see there was philosophy, and then natural philosophy was developed, and that led to science. So what was called natural philosophy, we now call science. So we have philosophy, which is the love of wisdom. It's an application of reason or logic in order to find knowledge. And we usually think about it in terms of finding meaning in life for kind of existential purposes, why we're here, what we should do, morals, ethics. Science is more concerned with the natural world. So it looks at the material world. It looks to find knowledge in constructs that we can observe or that we can observe indirectly. So we can develop instrumentation that can detect things that we can't directly sense and then convert that into something that we can sense. But either way, science is based on the material world. It looks at the material world as the source of knowledge. So if we observe, if we experiment, if we replicate those experiments, we can gain knowledge that way. In order for something to qualify as science, it must use the scientific method. It must involve, at some level, experimentation, observation, replication. So some, if not all, of the principles must be there to call something science. So we really have here two different ways to obtain knowledge. As I mentioned, I use both, philosophy and science, and I'm also a big fan of theology. And theology, you could argue, is both philosophy and science at the same time, but that's a whole other debate. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So really, I'm just focusing here on philosophy and science. So let's take a look at the question. Specifically, is narcissism evil? So first we have to understand narcissism. Narcissism is a construct that's scientifically defined. It's a tendency for certain behavior. We can define it using the 5-factor model, for example, openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. We look at the facets of those traits, and if we see certain facets endorsed at certain levels, we could call that narcissism. What we would look for, of course, is arrogance, envy, a lack of empathy. We'd look for somebody who has a lot of fantasies about success, wealth. We'd look for somebody who requires a lot of admiration, has a grandiose sense of self-importance. These are considered narcissistic characteristics. So we can measure narcissism, and that's the way we use it. We measure it, and we can help people to cope with it, to adapt to narcissism. We can help people who have been abused by individuals who are narcissistic through our scientific understanding of narcissism. Now let's look at the other part of the question. In order to get at evil, we have to ask, what is evil? Well, to look at evil in terms of defining it, it's really specific to what philosophical and, taking it further, theological beliefs somebody has. In general, we would say that evil is intentionally doing wrong. But here's where things become tricky. Is it doing more wrong than good? What if you do a lot of both? What if you do a lot of wrong, but just a little bit more good? It's difficult really to measure evil and even to define it in a way that kind of meets narcissism at the same level.
Oh, wait, he's cooking. He is cooking. I think that is Dr. Todd Grandy. when I come forward, I want to give you just a little bit more. Okay? Because listen, evil, that it's philosophical, it's theological. But at the end of the day, is narcissism evil? Is gaslighting evil? Stonewalling, is it evil? And to take another leap, is avoidance evil? Ooh, Lord, when we come forward, the VOR up in here cooking.
He's on fire tonight. It's the Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Maryland is joining the Federal Trade Commission and attorney generals across the U.S. in suing to block the proposed merger between major grocery store chains Kroger and Albertson. The lawsuit alleges the merger will lead to higher prices for millions of Americans. Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown, who is black, said a majority of Marylanders who responded to a survey last year expressed concerns that the proposed merger would be harmful to consumers. With the North Carolina primary election now just about a week away, a lot of political eyes are watching the hotly contested race for the Republican nomination in Congressional District 1. The area, formerly known as the Black Belt for its large number of African American voters, is now being fought over by GOP candidates Lori Buckhout and Sandy Smith after the state Supreme Court recently approved new district lines to include 7 mostly white counties. The winner will take on incumbent Democrat Don Davis in the November 5th general election. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary hair? Visit your local SoCal FS Cut and Color salon today and let their team of expert stylists pamper you with affordable luxury. Get a free shampoo with every cut. Book your appointment today at fantasticsands.com.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Recently, the Washington Post ran a major story which in sum reveals that racial discrimination in jury selection persists in America. Most often, the practice occurs through a legal tactic called peremptory challenge, which allows an attorney to strike a potential juror without having to state a reason. In the 1986 Batson Doctrine, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the use of peremptory challenges to exclude potential jurors solely based on their race violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. By the way, the late great Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall despised peremptory challenges. New data in the Washington Post story underscores that nearly 40 years after the Batson decision, the problem remains widespread. One study in the Deep South found that black jurors are being challenged and dismissed at double and triple the rates of other prospective jurors. Bottom line, it's racist, it's wrong, and it's pervasive, even as research shows that racially diverse juries spend more time deliberating, make fewer errors, and can result in fairer trials. One of the arguments in the Ninth Circuit appeal, brought by former LA City Councilman Mark Ridley Thomas, is about violation of that Batson Doctrine. In its case against MRT, the U.S. Attorney's Office struck black women from the jury pool based on demeanor and employment status, a clear violation of the law. A long list of high-profile black law professors, historians, and justice centers have now filed amicus briefs in support of MRT's position. But the irony of a black elected official who for more than 3 decades represented the best interest of his black constituents having black women voters struck from his jury pool is repugnant and morally wrong. So much for being judged by a jury of your peers. MRT's legal team argues correctly in its filing that given well-established law and legal principles set forth by the Supreme Court, Ninth Circuit, and state courts and legislatures, The Ninth Circuit should likewise reaffirm and clearly state that applying facially neutral justifications in discriminatory ways to target black women and other protected groups presumptively violates Batson. I couldn't agree more. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley. We welcome your comments.
Hey Californians, are you ready to make your home ownership dreams come true? The California Dream for All Shared Appreciation Loan Program might be for you. First-generation homebuyers can get down payment and closing cost assistance along with a first mortgage to help you unlock the door of your new home. Applications open in April, so talk to an approved lender to see if you're eligible. Find out more at calhfa.ca.gov/dream or call 877-922-5432. A message from the California Housing Finance Agency.
Linking social justice and climate justice all year long. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're looking for the most epic place on earth, let's start at the base of a massive waterfall. Then trek through the thick jungle. Then climb to the peak of a snowy mountaintop. Then once you get there, keep going. Because with intelligent 4x4 and 7 drive modes and a Nissan Pathfinder, the search is the real adventure.
Available feature. Intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Just had a fight with my woman over something trivial told. We rarely have confrontation, and if the I said really was bold, I think she get it from my mama. Her bitterness passed down from old. When I'm calling out her drama, she too defensive to listen. I'll call so. Looking at, I got problems. You got the type of advice that I need. I couldn't get through on the mention series. Dana was hogging up the time that I need. Between working or being so clingy, plus the time zone difference don't make it more easy. So I figured I'd call in early. Turn my life down, mercy, I got through. You tuned in, yeah. Voice of Reason is the show. Yeah. Voice of Reason is the show. So just lay back your mind, something new. Everybody tuning in to soul, cause he is the voice of reason, yeah.
I do believe evil is real, but it's not real from a scientific standpoint. It's not really part of the material world in the same way as we would see in the scientific method. Now, I know individuals who are interested in mental health have tried to study evil. And what they've really done is they've renamed evil. So, for example, we see attempts to measure depravity or wickedness, which you could argue is really the same thing as evil. And some have tried to get the word empathy in there. So that lack of empathy that we see with narcissism, they say, well, if we measure that, then that's evil. So really they're just taking two words and putting them together. They're simplifying the term evil, and they're making the term empathy more philosophical. We have a word for evil. We have a word for empathy. I don't know if mixing them together really helps anything. So that's just really a renaming exercise. The bottom line is it comes down to the definition of evil to answer this question, and there is no single definition. So one way to answer the question, is narcissism evil, would be to say that you're really comparing two things that can't be compared. But if you're really trying to ask, do individuals who are narcissistic do bad things? Do they make choices that can hurt people? Well, I'd say in some cases they do, and in some cases they don't. So if we look at another version of the question, are all narcissists evil? Well, if narcissism was based on choice, that people chose to be narcissistic, then I would say probably a lot of people that are narcissists.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's getting deep. Listen, you have to understand something about the scientific method. You have to understand something about philosophical or psychological ideas. A psychological idea must be falsifiable. This is why Freud, a lot of people still use Freud, and people look at Freud as the beginning of psychology, but a lot of the things he dealt with were not falsifiable. If an idea is falsifiable, it can be deemed as something closer to the truth. So many of Freud's ideas were not falsifiable because you couldn't put them under the stringent testing mechanisms of the scientific method. So when you talk about shadow and the unconscious, you can't really, do you understand, prove or disprove that. You can't even really prove or disprove consciousness. So again, it's not falsifiable. So that's why a lot of clinicians have moved away and more entrenched into the scientific method approach. However, as Dr. Ted was explaining, and I don't know who, we had Molly from Indiana. They dropped. Get back in here, Molly, if you can. I'm going to Sean in a second. But evil, let's just go back to its etymological root. All right? Evil, it means vicious. It means bad, ill, wicked, right? From its old English, right? Evil. So, if that's the case, is it bad to gaslight? Yes. Thus, one could deduce that it could be labeled potentially as evil. See, this is why I say people play word games all day. The same person that says, I love you, will be the same person that ghosts you. The same person that says, you're my best friend, will be the same person that acts indifferent and cold to you as if you weren't there during their darkest days. Do you understand? So I would consider that evil, right? The metaphysical definition of evil is that of imperfections. Physical evil consists in pains and other similar inconveniences, and moral evil in sin. Well, sin, when we look up its etymological root, all it means is you've missed the mark. So sin should have a synonym in its definitions or in its usage. What do you mean a synonym? Well, a synonym for sin should be human. Right? If humans are all flawed, and I think humans all have the capability to show narcissistic tendencies. But when you look at the narcissist was raised by a broken, dysfunctional parent and or parents, right? Probably had a narcissistic mother and a codependent father, or vice versa. And if a child is raised in that environment, the child tends to model their environment. The thing about, is it evil to lack empathy? To not have the ability to empathize with those you hurt? Right? A narcissist has a deep shame wound that they got from their primary caregivers or giver. So what ticks a narcissist off is when you jiggle that damn mask they're wearing. The mask of I'm superior. The mask of I'm doing better than you. The mask of you weren't worthy of me. Do you understand? That, to me, is evil. A narcissist is using people for a supply to their grandiosity, or to their covert narcissism, or to their malignant narcissism. So in a way, you can argue that a narcissist is a spiritual, energetic vampire, which is evil. Now, you might not want to call it evil, but that's evil. The spiritual root of narcissism is a sense of pride, which ingrains them in their ways, superiority. Pride comes from the feelings of low self-worth. Someone with high self-worth knows I don't even have to be prideful. I'm a commander, not a demander. When I walk in the room, I command respect. And a narcissist is jealous of the person who has command. So they spend most of their time trying to devalue the person who is in natural command of their spirit, of their presence. Hey, I got so much to talk about. When I come forward, I am going to go to the lines, but I'm setting up this topic.
Is it good to you? More Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams when we come forward.
City of Los Angeles tenants, get informed today about your eviction rights. Take immediate action if you receive an eviction notice from the court. You have 5 days to respond to an eviction notice or unlawful detainer. Don't self-evict. And you can't be evicted for non-payment of rent unless you owe more than the fair market rent for a unit your size. Learn more eviction information such as at-fault and no-fault evictions at housing.lacity.org. Be informed, be protected, be at home.
Do you have both Medi-Cal and Medicare?
If so, the new LA Care plan called Medicare Plus can help you get the most out of your health plan for $0.
LA Care provides personalized service to Angelinos like us.
Plus, it gives us access to doctors and specialists across Los Angeles County.
For zero cost, we get access to full benefits.
From vision coverage,
in-home support services,
to prescription drug coverage and a quarterly over-the-counter allowance.
Plus personal equipment,
meal programs,
a gym membership,
and so much more.
For more than 25 years,
LA Care has provided Angelinos with access to quality health care at an affordable cost.
For our families,
our seniors,
our community,
it's a plus.
It's a plus
for all of us.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chucha's opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chucha's Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You know you want some more. It's the voice of reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you see me walking down the street and I start to cry each time we meet, walk on by. Walk on by. Make believe that you don't see the tears. Just let me grieve in private, 'cause each time I see you, I break down and cry. Walk on by. Stop. Walk on by. Stop. Walk on by. I just can't get over losing you. And so if I see you,
I do not care personality disorder or not. Deliberately isolating someone from their friends and family to have absolute control over them is evil. Intentionally distorting reality to have things your way at the expense of someone's sanity is evil. Acting like a chameleon, being selectively nice and withholding information to keep your significant other in fog is evil. Telling lies on your child, partner, and smearing their name because they didn't comply and conform is evil. Acting cool, calm, and collected in front of others after driving you crazy, after driving the victim crazy, is evil. Their actions make them evil. Narcissists' actions make them evil. We do not dehumanize them, their actions do.
Ooh, is deception evil? Especially if you're doing it intentionally. Yo, are you seeing somebody else? No. I'm guilty of it. I have said no. I have intentionally deceived someone. And I think that that was an evil act because of the word intentionally. Right? If you and guess what? You might have been doing it for noble reasons, right? You might have said, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings. I got to let this person down a different kind of way. I can't just throw it. I can't do it like that. No, if you intentionally try to protect somebody else's feelings and then inadvertently, or because it's intentionally, hurt the other person, I guess we have to label that as an evil act because of intent. Right? Listen, I know I have a couple of narcissistic ways. But one thing that separates me from a narcissist, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to own what I did to hurt you. I'm not going to give you a blanket license apology. I apologize for anything that I may have done to hurt you. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, I apologize for lying to you about this situation. I apologize for hurting you. Do you understand? Narcissists do not like to be exposed. I expose myself on this show every damn day. Do you understand? I may have a couple of narcissistic tendencies. I'm pretty sure if I took a test, some of them would pop up. But I have empathy. Do you understand me? I want to know from y'all. Have you dated a shapeshifter? Whenever you confront them, they shift the reality of the conversation through gaslighting. Right? They deflect. Right? They deflect, right? Or they choose to simply not answer. They stonewall. Right? Right? Isn't that interesting? We got callers on the line. I'm going to get them in here right now. Sean from Hawaii. Get up in here, Sean.
Brother.
What are your thoughts on tonight's topic, my friend?
Well, Brother Zoe, this topic, so the first thing I'll hit on is evil, right? That is a very subjective thing, but in my personal opinion, what evil is when you bring that negative flow into someone else's life, right? It's okay if you want to be in that, in your own battery acid and just stew in it. Okay, that's okay. But you don't have to bring everyone else into your negativity. So to me, evil is bringing someone else into your, something going wrong in your life. And people call it projection. They call it all kinds of things. But evil is trying to hurt someone else, because it's going to make you feel better. Remember the saying, misery loves company? Mm-hmm. That saying is there for a reason, because it isn't just a saying. Misery does love company if you are, trying to make yourself feel better to make other people feel worse. But here's the way I'm telling you. So my thing with my daughter, brother, and about being a parent, and I just love you. I know you're a great dad, and here's the thing. My daughter, I have a teenager, right? So I went straight from when she was really little, telling her about us men. Because here, I have an 18-year-old son as well. That's a different story. But I'm telling you about what I told her. I said, you're going to meet up with kids that have this energy and these hormones and everything flowing, and the sex is just the first thing on the top of their mind, and playing sports and being aggressive. It's what, a lot of men do. But you got to understand a shapeshifter. You said this earlier. Please try to understand someone who's authentic or trying to fool you. And I've given her all kinds of little funky tests, about, hey, am I telling the truth or am I just trying to fool you? And the reason why I do that, it's never going to be perfect. Someone's going to fool my daughter. She's going to fool someone else. No one's perfect. We all have deceived people. As long as you understand that your goal, or at least if you attempt to be a decent person, that's great. Don't try to be a perfect person, and don't try to be that evil person either, because eventually you'll be found out. You might get yours for a few if you're really evil, deceiving people, and you'll do the same thing if you try to pretend you're perfect. Try to pretend you're perfect, you're going to get your way for a while, but then everyone's going to find out you're a phony. Be authentic, people.
Hey, Sean, guess what you just did?
Brother, I brought the big island of Hawaii in the building.
Hawaii, aloha. If you want to bring your city in the building, you know the routine. The number to dial, 1-800-920-1580. Let me get my brother Reggie from Austin, Texas up in here. Reggie!
What's up, man?
Talk to me.
It's really crazy. Man, this entire topic is really hitting home for me because I dated somebody that really fit.
Wait, hold on. Because I already feel... I already feel the high-level grease you about to cook with. Listen, you hold tight. I'm going to carry you forward, and then we're going to get right to you, all right?
All right, then.
Ooh, Lord, he about to cook. He's about to cook. Is it possible for relational shapeshifters to change their behavior through therapy or intervention? 1-800-920-1580. How do societal attitudes towards forgiveness and redemption impact the accountability of relational shapeshifters? What ethical considerations arise when confronting a relational shapeshifter about their behavior? Can early warning signs of relational shapeshifters be identified in childhood or adolescence? We got so much to cook with right now. How do relational shapeshifters exploit power dynamics within intimate relationship? Playing the victim? Oh, that is classic narcissism. The narcissist is never wrong. The person who will do anything for their peace at the expense of yours is evil. Agree or disagree? 1-800-920-1580. When I come forward, the voice of reason gonna keep the fire lit.
Walk on by. Stop. Walk on.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Maryland is joining the Federal Trade Commission and attorney generals across the U.S. in suing to block the